Bearcat fans, thank you for joining us for the weekly St. Vincent football coach Bob Colbert's video blog right here on stvincent.edu. I'm Jim Berger, glad as always to be joined by Coach Colbert today. This past Saturday, the Bearcats had a tough test facing number 18 ranked Thomas More College here at Chuck Noll Field. The game, it was close in the early stages. Bearcats got off to a strong start before they kind of were bitten by the turnover bug, as St. Vincent committed 6 costly turnovers, 4 of them leading to Thomas More touchdowns, and the Saints left Latrobe with the 40-13 win. Coach, looking back at Saturday, what were some of the negatives, some of the positives coming from that game? And looking back, what do you think of the performance?
Well, you identified some of the negatives. We had far too many interceptions. We threw 5 interceptions. We gave the defense a short field far too many times. 6 of their touchdown drives, we gave them short fields. And you can't do that to the defense. That's not fair. Other than that, in terms of effort, our kids gave a great effort. That's one of the top teams in the country, ranked in the top 25 at least. And I think we stood toe-to-toe for them, with them. As I said, if we hadn't turned the ball over there a number of times, I think that if we'd have given them a long field, then we would have been able to hang in there with them. The turnovers killed us, there's no question. You give up 6 turnovers, and we fumbled the ball in the first play of the game. It was an unnecessary fumble. And we responded well to that. Our guys turned around, that we intercepted. But we also gave them a short field on a 24-yard punt, and you can't, that's not fair to the defense to do that. So there were too many negatives in terms of turnovers, and the punting game suffered a little bit. We didn't punt the ball well enough.
Well, we said last week Thomas More has the size, the strength, the athleticism all over the field. Were they all that you were expecting, and you think they have it in them to make a nice postseason run?
Well, they were what we expected. They have nice size, they have nice speed. I think probably the field conditions slowed them down a little bit, but we suffered the same thing. So the field conditions, I'll throw that out, and we won't consider that something that was a game turner for us. Yeah, I think they have an opportunity. It'll be interesting to see in a couple of weeks when they come down against the W&J game again, like it did last year for the conference championship, and that'll be a good test for them to see how far they can go in the playoffs. Obviously, if they win, they'll get an automatic qualifying bid for the playoffs. But they have the size and the speed and the talent that would rank them up in the upper echelons of Division III football.
Well, now that we enter Week 7 of the season, I'm sure a lot of players are feeling a bit more down, the aches and pains, the everyday practices, and going out on Saturdays and playing in the games. But looking at the lineup from the beginning of the season to this point, it looks to me that the team's been pretty fortunate as far as the injury situation. How does that stand at this point of the season? Is the team, are there a lot of injuries? Is the team healthier this year than they were at this point last year?
We probably are in the same boat as most other teams in the country. We've suffered some key injuries. We lost Stephen Shore this past week, well actually for the past 2 ball games, and so we had to mix and match a little bit in the offensive line. And then we lost another player that's been playing a lot in the offensive line. Shane Smith got hurt during the ball game. So there was some patching up that Coach Bernie had to do during the ball game, and really it wasn't too bad. We ran the ball fairly well against a team that was ranked high in terms of rushing defense. So yeah, it's been a problem, but it's not anything more than anything else. Anybody else is suffering at this time, and we just have to keep plugging along here and make the best of it.
Well, despite the team's record, a lot of players, I think, have turned in some really nice individual performances. We talked a little bit about Rob James last week. He leads the conference with 4 interceptions. Also defensively, Sean Huffgard and David Ribeiro were in the top 10 in the conference in tackles. John Jackson, tackles for loss. Offensively, Sheldon Logner, Marvin Daney, putting together nice years at wide receiver. Zach Mihalko leads the league in all-purpose yardage. A lot of these players, they get the notoriety and a lot of the attention statistically. Who are some of the maybe unsung heroes up to this point?
I think on defense, Jimmy Morocco has done a nice job as an interior lineman. He doesn't get a lot of plays made, but he occupies a number of blockers with his strength. So he's been able to free up. David Ribeiro is doing a nice job making the tackles, but some of that is due to Jimmy Morocco occupying some of the offensive linemen to free him up. And Jeff Graham and Joe Titler have had nice days, again, in the defensive line, and occupying people, getting off and making some plays. They're not leading the team in tackles maybe, but they're having nice years. On the offensive line, Sean Sigg is kind of an undersized guard for us. He's solid, not spectacular, but he's solid. He's making an adjustment. This is his first year as a starter, and he's doing a nice job inside there. And Kelly Nepshield, again, is center. Nobody gets noticed in that interior line unless something bad happens. But Kelly plays a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm, and he brings a lot of leadership to us. So he's done very well for us. Jake Gagbell quietly has caught the ball most of the times when we're throwing it to him. He's done well for us. And in the fullback spots, they haven't been spectacular, but they've been steady for us. And Joe Strickland and Mark Gonzalez have been steady for us. So those are the guys that maybe we're not noticing enough that are doing well and helping us to, again, be competitive. Nobody's satisfied being 0-6. Nobody's satisfied with that, particularly the players. But those guys have contributed, and they're not getting the big headlines, and they're not the stars, as you may say.
Well, each week, Coach Colbert chooses the team's captains based on their previous performance the week before. This week against W&J, who are the captains going to be? We're
going to have Armando Fortunato on defense. He's done a nice. Again, he's kind of he doesn't get a lot of publicity maybe, but he's been spectacular, steady. Sheldon Lochner had a nice game Saturday against Thomas More, and he'll be our offensive captain. And Zach Mihalko, again, for his work on the kickoff return. He's doing a great job of getting. He's a steady downhill runner, and he's going to break one sooner or later.
Well, each week the Bearcats' schedule, doesn't get any easier. Facing the second undefeated team in a row, nationally ranked Washington and Jefferson, the big dog of the conference. We know that they put up the numbers offensively, and this year it seems like the defense has also been a strength for them. What do you expect from W&J? What makes them so good, and how are you guys going to prepare?
Well, it's funny, maybe not funny, but after the game I told you your reward for playing a great game of good effort against Thomas More was to go and play the number 8 ranked team in the nation. The kids accepted that. They're willing to go out and lay it on the line again and see how they compete against some of the better teams in the country. W&J defensively have some really good experienced defensive linemen. They come off the ball well, and they're able to put pressure on quarterbacks without blitzing because of the strength of their front four. Offensively, obviously they're missing Bobby Swallow, who was a player of the year in the league last year. So they've changed personalities a little bit, but they're still able to spread the ball around and run the ball a little bit more effectively, and they're not depending on the pass like they did in the past with Bobby Swallow. So they're a little more balanced from what I see, and obviously they have what makes them good players. That's what makes any team good. Good players. They're well coached. They have a sound system offensively and defensively, and they play fast. As a saying in coaching, they play fast. They play fast on offense. They play fast on defense. So they're going to be a challenge for us. But if our kids respond like they did last week, I'll be happy if they get up there and respond and go toe-to-toe with them.
Well, that'll be this Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock at Chuck Noll Field. For those of you who can't make it, the game will be simulcast online at redzonemedia.com. Coach, thank you as always for joining us. I wish you luck this week, you and the team. Well, for Coach Colbert, I'm Jim Berger. I hope to see you next week.